Donald Trump announces 2024 re-election run for president. Former President Donald Trump announced his third presidential bid 1 week after the midterm elections. Former President Donald Trump announced his running for the 2024 re-election nomination for president, seeking to stage a dramatic return to the White House after having lost his bid for re-election to Joe Biden in 2020. Trump, a Republican and the leader of the American Great Again movement, announced his third presidential bid on Tuesday during a speech in his Mar-a-Lago, Florida home after having teased a bid since leaving office in 2021. In order to make America great again and glorious again, I am tonight announcing my candidacy for President of the United States, Trump said Tuesday evening to a crowd of supporters. But, just as I promised in 2016, I am your voice. I am your voice. The Washington establishment wants to silence us, but will not let them do that. What we have to build together over the past 6 years is the greatest movement in history because it is not about politics. It's about our love for this country, America, and we are not going to let it fail, said Trump. I am running because I believe the world has not yet seen the true glory of what this nation can be. We have not reached that pinnacle, believe it or not, he continued, blaming President Biden for the current state of the nation. In fact, we can go very far. We are going to have to go far first. We have to get out of this jet. And once we are out, we'll see things that nobody imagined for another country. It's called the United States of America, and it's an incredible place. Trump first won the presidency in 2016 against former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. If he is elected again, he would become only the second president to retake the White House after having been ousted, a feat achieved by Groovy Cleveland in 1892, after he had lost his presidency to Benjamin Harrison in 1888. A victory would make Trump the 45th and the 47th president. Since he lost, Trump has challenged the legitimacy of the 2020 election results, repeatedly claiming the race was rigged due to the COVID pandemic era process of mail ballots. Trump falsely claimed the election was stolen, and his legal team filed a slew of lawsuits at battleground states across the nation. Trump's announcement comes 1 week after the 2021 midterm elections, in which Republicans did not obtain an anticipated red wave victories. Democrats kept control of the Senate, and if Republicans are able to capture a majority in the House, it is expected to be slight. The former president was heavily involved in the midterms, throwing his support behind Republican candidates across the nation. During the primaries, the majority of Trump endorsed candidates were victorious, becoming the GOP nominee in their races. The economy, which has been top issue for voters during the 2022 midterm election cycle amid record high inflation, was strong under Trump's presidency, with an increase in middle class family income, the lowest unemployment rate in half a century, and unprecedented job growth. The stock market hit record highs, with the Dow closing above 20,000 for the first time in 2017 and topping 30,000 in 2020, and the S&P 500 and NASDAQ key also hitting record highs. Trump also worked to cut red tape and reduce regulations facing American business and workers, working to put in place policies to bring back supply chains from overseas, in line with his Make Great America Again and Make America First messaging. As for trade relations, Trump immediately withdrew from the Trans-Pacific Partnership and ended the North American Free Trade Agreement and a FTA in January 27, replacing it with the exciting United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement USMCA, which included new protections for American manufacturers and workers. Trump also signed an executive order making it government policy to buy America and hire America, and took action to stop outsourcing of jobs overseas. Another issue for Americans during the midterm election cycle has been energy and record high gas prices. Under the Trump administration, Trump endorsed the US was the number one producer of oil and natural gas in the world. But President Biden reversed some of those policies and refocused on clean energy. Meanwhile, the Trump administration foreign policy message one was one that focused on peace through strength. Trump withdrew from the Iran nuclear deal, which the Biden administration began taking steps to re-enter when he took office in 2021. Trump held a historic summit with Kim Jong-un in June 2018. He was the first sitting U.S. president to cross the demilitarized zone into North Korea. ICBM testing was paused during the Trump administration, but North Korea did continue to test for short and medium-range ballistic missiles. North Korea has been ramping up its ballistic missile testing under the Biden administration. Regarding the Middle East, the Trump administration brokered the Abraham Accord, a historic peace agreement between Israel and the United States Arab Emirates, and that normalized relations and created bilateral agreements regarding investment, tourism, direct flight security, telecommunications, technology, energy, healthcare, culture, the environment, establishment, reciprocal embassies, and other areas of mutual benefit. In 2018, the Trump administration moved the U.S. embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, and a relocation long debated in Washington, and on one that showed the U.S. officially recognized Jerusalem as a capital of Israel. Trump's administration also reviewed the military with more than 2.2 trillion in defense spending, delivering paid raises for service members and their families. Trump's administration also created a new branch of the military, the Space Force. Trump appointed and had three conservative justices confirmed to the Supreme Court during his presidency: Justice Neil Gorsuch, Brett Kavanaugh, and Amy Coney Barrett. Meanwhile, Trump's administrations worked to make communities safer, signing the First Step Act into law, the first landmark criminal justice reform legislation passed to reduce recidivism and help former inmates successfully rejoin society. A law and order President Trump delivered support for law enforcement and put a major focus on protecting and securing the U.S. Mexico southern border. Trump's presidency from 2017 to 2021 was clouded by investigations, several into whether he colluded with Russia to influence in the 2016 election, some focused on his finances, and others that led to impeachment, making him the first president in the United States history to have been impeached twice. Trump's post-presidential life has been reminiscent of his days in the Oval Office, marred by probes which the former president and his allies said were just part of an effort by his political opponents to prevent him from running for the election in 2024. The former president is currently under federal investigations by the Department of Justice for allegedly mishandling classified documents under the Presidential Records Act. A federal judge appointed Judge Raymond Dury to serve as special master and review the thousands of records seized by the FBI. Trump and his legal team have argued that none of the documents taken from his Mar-a-Lago home were classified. The FBI conducted an unprecedented pre-dawn raid of his private residence at Mar-a-Lago in August, alleging that the former president had classified national security information. The investigation comes amid a criminal investigations into Trump and his family's business practices by New York Attorney General Letitia James. Trump raised 10 billion point $2 million in August after the FBI's unprecedented raid, the most Save America PAC had raised a month since Trump was in office. As of mid-October, Trump's Save America PAC had just under 100 million cash on hand. Also this summer, a federal appeals court paved the way for the House Ways and Means Committee to finally obtain Trump's tax returns from internal servers, something the panel has been trying to obtain since 2019 under the law that permits the disclosure of an individual's tax returns to the Congressional Committee. Trump may seek emergency innovation measures from the Supreme Court in an attempt to temporarily block any release of these tax records, which likely will come under renewed scrutiny now that he decided to run for a third time. When Trump first took office in January 2017, the FBI was in the middle of conducting a counterintelligence investigation into whether candidate Donald Trump and members of his campaign were colluding or coordinated with Russia to influence the 2016 election. That investigation was referred to inside the Bureau as Crossfire Hurricane and began on July 31st, 2016. That investigation was opened despite the CIA Director John Brennan briefing the President Obama on July 28, 2016 about a purported proposal from one of Hillary Clinton's campaign foreign policy advisors to vilify Donald Trump by stirring up a scandal claiming interference by the Russia's courier service. A special counsel, Robert Mueller, ultimately was appointed to take over the investigation, but after nearly 2 years, Mueller's investigation, which concluded in March 2019, yielded to no evidence of criminal conspiracy or coordination between the Trump campaign and Russian officials during the 2016 presidential election. Special Counsel John is currently investigating the origin of the FBI's Trump's Russia probe. Weeks after Mueller's probe was complete, Trump had a phone call with Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky, during which he pressed Zelensky to launch investigation into Biden family's actions and business dealings in Ukraine, specifically Hunter Biden's ventures with Ukraine natural gas firm Burisma Holdings. Hunter Biden at the time was and still is under federal criminal investigation for his tax affairs prompted by suspicious foreign investigations. The president's request came after a million U.S. military added to Ukraine had been frozen, which Democrats and some witnesses have cited as a quid pro quo arrangement. Democrats also claim Trump was meddling in the next presidential election by asking a foreign leader to look into a Democratic political opponent. Trump's conversation with Zelensky prompted a whistleblower complaint which led to the White House impeachment inquiry and ultimately impeachment proceedings in the Senate. The House voted to impeach Trump in December 2019 on two counts: abuse of power and obstruction of Congress. The Senate voted for acquittal in February 2020. Meanwhile, on January 6, 2021, for pro-Trump riots breached the U.S. Capitol during a giant session of Congress to certify the Electoral College results in favor of President Biden. Trump permanently banned from Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, and YouTube after the riot. The House of Representatives then drafted articles of impeachment against him and ultimately voted to impeach him on a charge on inciting an insurrection for the January 6 Capitol riot, making him the first and only president to be impeached and ultimately acquitted twice in history. Trump's legal team denounced the proceedings as an unconstitutional sham impeachment against a private citizen driven by Democrats' hatred for Trump's and desire to silence it as a political opponent. The Senate voted to acquit, but had Trump been convicted, the Senate would have moved to bar the 45th president from holding federal office over again, preventing a 2024 White House run.